Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.
91.3 Capital FM, Desert Island Disc series on a wonderful Sunday evening such as this one. As usual, sharing with you life's interesting stories from ordinary folks with extraordinary ways of how they have been raised to where they are. Today, I have an extraordinary gentleman, a man that has done it all, seen it all, and is more than just willing to share with us his life story. Many of you have possibly caught a bit of him in more ways than one, possibly taken a drink of one of his products, or even eaten a sumptuous meal from what he has made for us. Today we hear his own life story from his own mouth. Welcome to the program, Mr. Amos Nzeyi.
Thank you. May I remove this?
I will appreciate if you do for
How many
audibility.
meters between me and you?
This is about 1 meter and a few inches. I think we are safe.
That's what is recommended?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We appreciate. Thanks for the kindness and thanks for keeping the SOPs intact. So, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And we're here to know who you are, when you are born, where you are born. But first and foremost, we know that you're the chairman of, Pepsi Cola beverages that we enjoy here in Uganda. Well, many of us also recall you from eating the first locally made bread here when bread was such a scarce commodity that we were importing it from neighboring countries. Hot loaf it is. Tell me, how are all those two ventures faring?
They are going on very well. They have grown from small to big. Yes.
And later on in the program, you'll be telling us how you actually raised them from small to the big companies that they are today.
Maybe can we go back to your first question of where I was born?
That's
from?
where we are headed right now, Chairman. Yes.
Should I start with that?
Please do.
Thank you. I was born from Kabale, formerly known as Kigezi, the former Kigezi, before they were divided into
The
three
main
districts, Rukunjiri, Kisoro, and Kabale. So I was born in Kabale, raised up in Kabale, studied in Kabale.
Wow.
Whatever education I acquired. So I am really a Kabale person.
Tell us more about your parentage in Kabale. Who were your parents and what did they used to do? Were they businessmen like you? Were they local politicians? Were they loyalty like kings? Who were they?
Kings?
Well, I'm told there's nothing like a king in Kabale. Everyone is a king in their own right.
No. My parents were simple people. My dad, yes, I knew my dad. I grew up with my dad. But unfortunately, I never saw my mother.
Oh dear.
Yes. I don't even have. I've got a small picture which they took, which was in black and white. It's a miserable picture, but I see her face, how she looked like, but the picture was poorly done. I was told he passed on when I was 3 months old.
Oh dear.
So that part I cannot say, talk much about my mom. But I can talk about my dad because he became my dad and mom.
Oh dear, that's very
And
nice.
he brought me up very well. He tried. My father was not anybody important in Kabale. Actually, he was can I even describe him as a middle class person? Or I don't want to call him poor. He was not poor. He was very rich at heart.
That's a good one.
So he was not poor, but earning very little income. He was working in a hotel known as White Horse Inn.
Oh.
The owner at the time was called Kishamaza, a Mzungu, a British.
That's a nice name for a British man.
And my dad used to take me there once in a while, maybe once in a blue moon, like twice in a year. And I would have a treat of, cakes and tea and so forth. So that's where he was working. And if I can remember him telling me how much he was earning, I think it was 3 shillings.
1,
a month.
2, 3.
3 shillings per month.
In today's speak, how much would that be, you think, roughly?
You can divide it by 20 shillings a pound, British pound, or 70 shillings a dollar at that time, maybe.
Oh,
That's how you can
7 shillings was $1.
compute it to get.
So you'll have to
today's
get
amount.
3, 5, About 50,000. I don't know. My mathematics is not that very good after so
It was
many
very
years.
little, but you can imagine someone, can I pour for some?
I'll be more than glad. Thank you very much.
Can you imagine someone who was earning
Enough.
that little, that much, and bringing up a family of 12 children
You are
on 3 shillings?
You are 12 children, 12 siblings,
Yes.
and you must have been the last since your
When
mother
I
died.
was last in my mom's mother, and then he married another wife when I was 6. He waited for me to
For
grow.
you to first grow, yes.
Yes.
Ah, that was very
Very, very
considerate of him.
kind to me. Because he was a born again, he was saved. Barokole, serious Barokole. He was a church man. And, with that 3 shillings, he managed to put us, a few of us, in school to a certain level. If you attained like primary 6, he would say go.
Start
And,
your own.
I start another one.
Where did he start you from? The
Me,
usual church school, since you was a born-again Christian?
I went to a church school called Rugwere Primary School. And that's where I met the now current Prime Minister,
Wow.
Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda, and that's where I met Honorable Mbabazi,
The former Prime Minister.
Yeah, former Prime Minister Mbabazi,
Uh-huh.
and then Mutebile, the governor.
Of the Bank of
We
Uganda.
were all in the same school in primary 1 together.
Same class.
Yes, same.
This must have been a very executive P1 class that it has produced 2 prime ministers back to back. A governor of the central bank and an astute businessman like yourself.
Oh yes, it was. It was because when we go back to reflect on how we are doing, we always talk about it because we've been friends since that primary 1. Up to now, we are one person. Okay, I'll tell you, I struggled a lot to study, which, of course, I didn't succeed to study and go very far. But I thank God for whichever level I stopped at. I can tell you that in primary 3, I remember very well I started doing business. When I was in primary 3, to raise money to pay for school fees.
Means you're about 9, 10 years.
Yeah, I was about to 7, 8. And I started selling eggs. And that's the worst business I've ever done in my life.
Why? They break?
No, I was selling my market. I was selling to teachers.
To teachers?
And teachers were not being paid. I would wait 6 months to be
Oh, you
to
were
be
there?
paid for my eggs. This is not yesterday's situation. It goes back. Don't blame this government that are not paying teachers. It is,
Teachers have always been underpaid, ill-paid, and not paid.
Exactly. I survived on that for some time. Then that business became very poor, very bad business. And it drove me to think about doing something else. And I ended up in baking,
At that
what you can call mwana kaba. You know mwana kaba?
small
These small cakes.
Cakes,
Yes. And again, I sold, those mandazis when primary 4, 5. And, that was very good business. Because my schoolmates were buying the mandazi. Yes. So I did that for a while. Later on, when, of course, there I had some, problems of my sisters inviting me that they would pay for me. I went to very many schools. They would say, come, we will pay your school fees. But later on,
They
end up being a houseboy in
dear.
their homes. They use me as somebody to fetch water, then cook, then, go to the gardens to dig, to get, food from there. And sometimes even not to go to school. They would say, today you don't go to school because we are going to harvest sorghum. So I would miss school for about a week.
Because you're harvesting sorghum.
Harvesting sorghum. And so forth. So I would move now from this home. Another one to say, I will take you. So I went to very many schools.
Within still Kigeli.
Excuse me. Later on, I was invited when I was going to what was equivalent to senior 1, maybe. It was the primary 7 at that time. I was invited by my brother to Kampala.
Oh.
Yes, so I got to Kampala, welcomed by my brother's wife, and I stayed then for about 3 months without going to school. Finally, he got to me school, Kororo High School. Then I had to wait because they had, they were demanding that you must be white, you must put on
A white shirt, white
trouser, even shoes, everything, the socks. What I remember actually, I enjoyed that uniform.
Chairman, I will cut you short right there and remind you that on this program, we play our music. Right about now, we will allow you to play your first song so that we first get this image of you in Kampala in all white, first sink in, and then we can continue with your life story. So what will be your first song?
Okay, maybe Babirie, Judith Babirie, Wanjagara.
Wanjagara.
Yes.
What do you like about that song?
Wanjagara, yes, Wanjagara, you know.
Yeah, God.
Nakuwachi. You loved me, God. What will I give you? Doesn't it make sense?
A lot of it.
Yeah, he played that song on my son's wedding, Humphrey, in the cabaret. And everybody in the church, even the president was there. Everybody liked Babiri's song.
The Honorable Judith Babirie's song Wanjagara is chosen by Chairman Amos Nzeyi, an astute businessman, sharing with us his life story on Desert Island Discs. You'll agree with me, this seems to be going the direction of grass to grace. We'll be right back.
Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back. It's Desert Island Discs, and yes, we're still listening to the life story of Chairman Amos Nzeyi, who, by all standards, is an astute businessman. So here you are. You have arrived at Kororo High School. You are required to wear all white.
All white.
Take us.
I did not really last longer. School fees again.
Another challenge of school.
Yes, so again I got there was uniform only. I cannot say again anything, knowledge, nothing at all from Kororo High School.
You just got a white uniform?
Just got my uniform, but now wait. During that time, again in Kampala, I became a businessman.
Did you know anyone?
Selling medicine.
Medicine?
I had an uncle who was a cousin, first cousin, working in Murago Hospital. He passed on, Leo. And there were these tablets, double color.
Double color?
Yes.
Tetracycline capsules, they call them.
Double color, the cure for gonorrhea. Okay? Now I started trading in those double color. I made good money.
Because gonorrhea was very prevalent?
It was very, at rampant, it was everywhere almost. And these drivers, like the drivers who gave me lift.
The truck drivers?
Yes,
every
I
stage.
knew where they were parking, in Chivubu and at Top Life in Mengo. So I used to go there and sell it to them, sell those double colors.
And you made money?
And I made not, of course, too much money, but to survive.
Survive, yes.
Yes, I would use it to go Mengo, Murago, those buses. I used it to enjoy those buses. I went everywhere and Tete, just sitting there. Mengo, Murago, I go through Kampala Road. I look at the shops, window shopping. While I'm in the bus, all those drapers, Fazara Budara. So I would enjoy, in those Mengo, Murago, because they would be like every 10 minutes.
Wow.
Every 10 minutes. Then, very interesting, my brother he had the habit of reading newspapers, Uganda Argus.
The big one like
Yes, Uganda Argus. And in that paper, he had left it on a table. He went to work after finishing, with it. He just dropped it on the table. So I landed on it and started also reading. Now inside there, I think on the business page, there was an article that Obote had inserted in the contractors of those who were those who had won road construction, those companies. And this company happened to be WRD, Water Resources Development, from Israel. So he had, they had inserted in that agreement that they must employ school droppers.
Oh, school dropouts?
School dropouts.
Must be employed in this.
Yes. And this was in good time because
You had finished
it
your
was
Kololo High
like
School.
next month, the project. And these people, when I asked, they were already in Kabari, the Jewish. I again very quickly went to, my friends, this time I didn't go on top of the truck because they knew me
They now knew you.
as they were my customers.
So you carried a few double
I
cars.
carried even some I gave for free. They took me back to Kabari. So when I go to Kabari, I was, I think, number 6 to be employed.
What were they going to do again?
They were going to construct a road from Kabare to Ntungam.
Oh, the cover in Tungamo Road.
Yes, I had all the qualifications as a school dropper.
Yeah. You had it.
So I was about number 6 to be employed.
Wow.
And I started now making good salary.
What were you employed to do exactly?
The first employment was boy spanner.
What's a boy spanner?
Boy spanner, you help mechanic.
Uh-huh.
He tells you, give me 12.
You know 12.
Number 12
A number
spanner.
12, you
bring it. He say, give me a screwdriver, you bring it.
Give me a
Give me
kawaii.
a prize, you bring it.
Why? There's something
Yeah.
called why.
You bring it. So you become like,
A messenger, but we
a conduit between someone who is doing mechanics
and the store.
and you are just, but you have to watch if you are a clever person. Because I was very attentive and watching properly, then I was also, promoted
The mechanic?
to a mechanic.
Wow.
But a mechanic in a field of managing compressors, Rolls-Royce compressors. These Rolls-Royce compressors, they are the ones you use to bring down mountains. Like those mountains in Kabari, those hills, when you are going, to climb and then you come down to Kabari. Those were
Ruaki
brought, some of those were brought up down by myself. So I was liked, then the engineer brought me nearer to his department, the chief engineer, by the name of Jacob.
You remember the name?
Yes, I remember, of course. I can never forget
That
Jacob.
means that man made an
Yeah, because he
impact on you.
promoted me from, I started earning, what amount was I think 65 cents per hour.
65 cents per hour.
Yes. And he brought me to about 1 shilling 65 cents. By the time, okay, we finished in Tungamo. No, before we finished in Tungamo, then Jacob was not a graduate. He was a practical person. He did not go to university to become an engineer. He was competing with other engineers. Now they had started in Barara, Katunguru. But the engineer there, who was actually highly qualified with many degrees, he failed to manage the machine. So they invited this Jacob to come there. I used to go with him. We would repair those tractors. You find the engineer said, remove the engine. But when we would go there to inspect those tractors, Jacob would look at them, he would say, bring the mirror, bring the torch, open this cover, crankshaft. He sees the chain. He says, no, this one you don't have to remove the engine. You have to, this is where the problem is. We would fix it very quickly and then go back to Kabari. So eventually, we operated 2 sites, or 2 roadworks.
Barara Katunguru, which is on the Kasese Road, and
yeah, then eventually in Tungamo we finished, and now we moved to Mbarara. We moved to Mbarara. I stayed in Mbarara. I remember this Gordon Wavamuno. He had a dry cleaning and he had some mizigo there, some small one. I rented one of his muzigo.
did you ever meet him?
Yes,
Or
of
you
course.
were using...
He's my friend.
no,
No, Wavamuno, I didn't know that.
At that
He
time,
was a big man.
You couldn't meet him. You wouldn't, as
No,
a
I
landlord, you
I
wouldn't
would,
see him.
meet the managers and so forth. But wait a minute. I had met him before at the taxi park. He was a driver, driving a small Volkswagen. Because I had also.
Oh, by that time
He
you had-
drove me, yeah. Yeah, he drove me. He was a taxi driver. He had a small, Volkswagen.
Yeah,
Yeah, this small one.
Uh-huh.
he's come also from very far.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So then, now you're in Barara, you are renting one of the Muzigos belonging to
now
Wabamuno.
of course, now I had been saving a lot of, I had saved quite a bit of money. And my ambition was to start to be self-employed. That was everything I was doing it temporarily. I didn't want to work for anybody. And 3 years I worked, that was the last time.
Tell me.
I worked only for 3 years. I was in employment for 3 years. I resigned when we were in a place called Nkombe. Nkombe is where former Chief Justice comes from.
Having now heard your life story and how you have juggled so many things and that ambition to become self-employed, I think let's play your next song. Then when we return, we now begin the journey of your self-employment.
But Simon, you know I'm not very good actually at music. I don't have time for music. But I can maybe, okay.
Which is a hymn.
That's a nice, good one.
Which, by the way, in English, it means that all that there is in this world is quicksand. So it's like an old hymn from the Anglican revival times. And I'm glad that you picked it up. Why do you say all that there is sand, yet you have worked so hard and are still working even today? Why do you call it sand?
Because at the end of the day, you leave everything.
That's a good philosophy.
You'll not go with anything.
Let's play that hymn, get ourselves into the Sunday mood, and of course reflect on our lives and know that whatever it is that we are toiling for today, we'll leave it all here, but it certainly leaves a legacy. And that's what I think Chairman Nzeyi is doing. We'll be right back.
Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.
91.3 Capital FM, Desert Island Disc Series, and yes, Chairman Amos Nzeyi sharing with us his life story. He is the chairperson of that beautiful beverage that you love to take, Pepsi Cola, the franchise in Uganda. He's a bottler. Hot loaf, if you've enjoyed bread and it's not hot loaf, you have not eaten bread at all. And now he'll be telling us exactly where it is that we are seated. He's also putting up something quite marvelous, and it will be quite something when he gets to complete it.
Of course, I cannot forget to promote our artists. I cannot really move away from, appreciating Chameleon songs. Yeah?
That now will become
Baliwa,
your third. Now that now we already have our third song.
Okay.
But before we play it, you now tell us that you woke up one morning after you have saved quite some money, had built a mabati, had put mabati on your father's roof, you had some tukas, you said, I quit employment. You went to start your own business.
Okay. So when I quit the job of employment with Israelis, I went into food, trading in food, buying food from Chinchizi, where it was cheap, and supplying it to Kabale.
What kind of food are we talking about?
In schools in Kabale, hospitals in Kabale. These were, fruits, sweet potatoes, Irish potatoes, katogo, everything. And I went, actually, I did I don't know even how I managed to go deep and to buy gardens. I used to buy gardens of, plantations.
You come and see, this is now sweet potato. Say,
yes, I go in the village. Mbabas will tell you. Yeah? Maybe even I could have bought from their place because his father was a very good farmer and very rich in food. Mbabazi home, they had a lot of food. And but that was not actually the best business to earn enough money to buy trucks and so forth. Which direction now I will be taking it?
Tell me.
On the way to Chinchizi, you pass through the forest called Mafuga. Now in Mafuga, they were cutting. I saw many cutting those timber. Okay? And of course, what I did, they were using saws, Manual.
Yeah, manual saws.
Yes. I used to stop there and look at them, I say, but then I started even asking them, where they were selling the wood. They told me they would sell it to a small mill there of Karasinga. And I asked the price, then to compare, then I said I'll go and compare with the price in Kabale. Then I went to Kampala. I compared with Kampala prices. And a friend of mine called Alex Kahuzo, an engineer in National Housing Corporation. I approached him and said, I have timber. Can you buy? He said, yes, supply me. We are looking for timber. Cypress, pine, I'll buy. So actually what I did again, I invested in saws, automatic, automation. And I gave to these people, they started cutting for me because I needed so many trucks. Started hiring trucks, supplying national housing. There was a gentleman who was killed at Cimenti when they were, during these wars that we were going through. They were shot drinking at Cimenti there by the name Okao from Lango. Very nice man, highly qualified engineer. He liked my timber and the way I was honest in supplying correct running meters, which they, and he gave me more business that even took me to Nakasongora, that barracks in Nakasongora. I supplied all the timber that I built that barracks.
That's interesting.
That barracks, I know it in and out.
Wow.
Yes, and all these national housing, Excelcom, post this, where the Prime Minister was before, then village ministers, village, all those were my timber. And if I can remember very well, Right Honorable Kadaga was actually employed in that corporation, and he was the one measuring this timber, if I can remember very well. So that made me actually a big step or a big jump.
It gave you a very quantum leap.
Yes, because he made me buy trucks, these semi-trailers.
Wow.
Wrong trucks, This.
The little boy from Kabale?
Yes, I owned about 3 or 4. Now, they started now the wars when President Museveni attacked Mbarara.
But all this while, let me take you back a little bit. You were still running as a young bachelor, or somewhere along the way you had now?
No, I was a bachelor.
You had decided just to make money?
Yes. Until I was, I think, 26 years. That's when I got married. And that war of Mbarara, I think it was 1972.
Yes.
That attack. I remember actually I was going to Fort Potro with my pickup, and people came running from Mbarara to Ishaka.
That distance is
Yes,
over 30,
yes.
is 50 something
Yes,
kilometers.
and they were saying Kaijiri has been shot, what? Bananuka was shot, but I think it was not true. But I think they were arrested. Then those trucks, my trucks, 3 trucks, they were confiscated by the army. They took them to Mutukura because now they were again trying to attack Tanzania through Mutukura. I met one gentleman in the army called, he was a Major Mukiri. I had seen him in one of the bars, Odeon Cinema, I think it was. No, there was a bar in the cinema where I used to go. Odeon, I think.
Odeon Cinema, yes.
Odeon Cinema. And Norman Cinema, almost. So I requested him, I reported to him that my trucks had been confiscated. He said, okay, if you can give me something, I'll get them. I said, please, please. He got me the trucks.
The three of them?
Yes, he got me the trucks. I got all of them, not at the same time, one after the other.
But in what shape did you find them?
Not really a bad shape, because I don't think they had a chance to cross Mutukura. Nyerere couldn't allow them. So when I got them back, Mombasa. I had a friend of mine called Jirigori, he passed on. I gave him my trucks. They started working for him.
In Mombasa?
In Mombasa. And later on...
Because then you feared that the insurgency in Uganda may not allow them.
So I secured them, but I started now using people's, hiring. But these trucks now, they were passing here, going to Rwanda, going to Burundi, carrying, materials. Because that guy was working for Transitra. He was transporting for Transitra as a contractor. Then did I tell you that I was a rider driver?
Now you started enjoying.
Yeah.
When the money now had started coming.
My money now I started now pulling it out.
To enjoy life's little luxuries.
Yes. And I think I did very well in riding.
Why of all
I
sports
was
did you choose
the champion in this country for quite a number of years. Now in around 75, Amin was elected as the chairman of OAU. Then Amin, when we were in a rally, in somewhere called, where was it? I think it was in Arua. He called about 4 of us. I think it was Padebrick, Haji Junju, Haji Kawere, myself. He called us in the dining and started greeting us, saying that I don't want Muzungu to be the first one. And for him, he didn't know that the rally to win it is not about being the first one on the road. It was the points.
The points, yes.
Yes. So whenever we were approaching, I would be probably beating everybody, and I would come like number 6. Or Junju would be beating us,
but when
and I come number 8. But for him, he sees somebody who is number 1 on the road.
He knows that is the one.
He knows that is the one. But luckily enough, I used it to be most of the time, competing between Impade Brick, Asa Brick, Junju Haji Kawere, Matovu. So I would be both beating them sometimes on the road and points.
Wow.
So that's why I was invited. Because remember, there was element of Muslim. And that's one thing I suffered, when he said, I'm going now, I'm chairman of OAU. I'm going to have a rally of 6,000 kilometers. He said, I want you to go to Sudan, Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Kenya, and come finish here. So when these people went for route tracking,
they call it scrutinizing.
Scrutinizing, yes, scrutinizing, whatever. It came out to be 6,000 kilometers. Even it was like in 10,000 or whatever. They kept on, cutting corners and chopping it. But they zeroed on 6,000. And then, of course, these Haji Kaweris and Junju, they pleaded to him. They went to him and said, we need the cars, factory-prepared cars, but we don't have foreign exchange. All we need is to be allocated foreign exchange. Said, they give you. We were all sent to Bank of Uganda. I think we met Abbas Mawanda there. He's the one who gave us the money. He was in Bank of Uganda as the director for exchange. And we got money and flew to London.
This was your money or government's money?
The money was ours. Foreign exchange was from government. So what the facility we got from government was to exchange our money.
The money.
And of course, it was a big advantage. If you could sell, say, $1,000, you'd get probably enough money to pay for 6,000 right having sold 1,000.
Wow.
You would collect enough money and buy on official. If you bought on official from Bank of Uganda, you'd get about 6,000.
Oh, that was a good killing.
Yeah, it was good. So I flew to London to someone called John Speed. He was preparing those cars. So I chose to buy Datsun 1800. And of course, once you buy it brand new, I bought it brand new from showroom in London. Then took it to John Speed. Now he has to open to dismantle it, even the engine, to put in, to cut the engine block and fit in big pistons and the wings. Okay? To make the engine stronger and powerful.
That's interesting.
Then all those, camshaft change, completely remodify the engine. And of course, they throw away the gearbox, they put in rock diff, special one. So I bought that car. We came here, we competed, Kenyans, Tanzanians, Muzungus, Muyindis, Karasingas. I emerged the winner of 6,000 kilometers.
My goodness.
Yes.
Isn't that the longest rally we've ever had in this country?
Yes. I won that rally. And of course, you know what he had promised? The winner, we are now in Kabale. In another rally, he said, whoever wins the rally, this OAU rally, I'll give him a Mercedes-Benz 280. And he's the navigator.
Wow.
So me, I expected to get a Mercedes-Benz. Eventually, again, Amos Nzeyi. Who is Amos? I ended up getting a Korean car called Pony, by name Pony.
Not a Mercedes-Benz.
Now that Pony, I remember I had Ezra Bunyezi with me. He was excited that I had won. He accompanied me to pick it from Munyonyo.
Vira.
Cape Town Vira. That's where we got the prizes. So I got the Pony, which I appreciated, brand new. My navigator, Bari Mutajo, got Eddie Kayua. He also won. So I drove mine back home with my fiancée. We went, the lady I married. So we went back home, parked the car. The following morning, I was summoned to, a car came to my home. I remember very well, UVS, State Research. They use it to drive vehicles with number plate UVS. Uganda, very serious. You get it?
That's an interesting one.
Nakasero, State Research. Now being asked how I won the rally. Can you imagine?
You won the rally?
I get there, they took me in a room. This guy started hitting me with these officers' sticks. Kauko. So Captain Smart said, I'm going to find a way of getting you out of this place, if you are lucky. But if I do, don't stay in Uganda. You have to leave.
What?
Did I ever go back? We dropped at cinema, this Norman Cinema again, from Nakasero, down there to Kampala Road.
He dropped you?
Yeah. I went to Busi and, past, I went to Jinja, behind the, Panya Road.
Panya Road, not the main.
Close to Kenya.
You left your fiancé behind? You didn't even go back home?
I didn't go back home.
When you entered Kenya, you found your way into Nairobi?
No, by that time I was married, when I went. So I left, with my 2 boys. I went to Kenya. Of course, you remember I had some trucks there. Yeah.
You touched base with your contact?
So I started, proper transport. And now I started, again, business. I moved to Kenya.
But you couldn't step inside here?
Yes. I think it was 76 when I settled in Kenya, exile. Then, of course, after, I registered the company, Intercontinental Transport. I happened to be in Intercontinental, sleeping in Intercontinental Hotel. So my lawyer asked me, which company do you want your company to be registered in? I just looked and I said,
Intercontinental.
because I was sleeping there. I said Intercontinental Transport Company Limited. So I started that company. I invited some few friends, one of whom I'm still with, Chris Kaiboke. Then there was Leti Agaba, Amos Agaba. Yeah, I was inviting people who had trucks. So I built my fleet to about 20 trucks.
Wow.
Then, of course, I ended up, I was very smart there again because I got to know Chris Kirubi, who was the general manager for Kinetico, government company. They had about 60 trucks, 70 trucks, which he gave me most of them, about 50. Then I had also multiple areas. They had about maybe 80. Coast harriers, they had about also 100.
So
all
you
those,
were running
on the
almost-
road I found myself with a fleet of about maybe 200 to 250.
You were the biggest
Transporter
at the time.
Yes.
And made your money.
Yeah, I made good money because this company that I was transporting for was based in Belgium, Antwerp.
Wow. Let's play your next song, Chairman.
All right.
When we return, then we'll have to understand from you. When you say, I made good money, what is good money? Is there bad money? I think something needs to be understood by especially our viewers and myself. So that will be your next song. Oh, yes. You did promise that you want to play Chameleon's song, Bariwa.
Baliwa, baliwa.
Abakubendere.
That's the song I like.
Do you love to dance? Yes, I know you said you don't like, you are not very well conversant with music, but do you love
I
to
normally
dance?
have parties at home. When I have family gathering on my birthday, Christmas. I was born on Christmas.
Interesting.
25th. So we dance. And I like dancing with my grandchildren.
Now you have become a judge.
Yeah.
And they teach you the latest strokes around.
Of course.
Don't they almost
But
break
sometimes
your
I beat them, don't
Oh, really?
joke.
back? That's a
Because
good
I
one.
watch TV.
Let's play Bariwa by Jose Chameleon. It was chosen by Chairman Amos Nzeyi. When we return, it's more about his life story.
Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.
Bakusazo kolete, bakusazo terete, bakusazo nyirite, aliwange tubite.
91.3 Capital FM, Desert Island Discs, and this is the story of Amos Nzeyi that we are going with. It is an incredible story. Typical move that describes grass to grace. So, here you are the biggest transporter in East Africa. It is the 70s, there is war and turmoil in your motherland. You are in exile. Has your family joined you or they are still here in
No, they joined me. I brought them to Nairobi.
Nairobi?
Yes.
So now you were at least
And in
settled.
Nairobi, by the way, I also started some construction. So I built some small houses there.
For your own residential or whatever?
built,
Or
for my first project, I built 4 houses, semi-detached. And I kept one, I rented the other. Later on, I sold. One of them I sold to Poro Chang.
Oh,
Poro Chang, my very good friend.
Oh, that's a very interesting one.
Yes, very good friend. He's the godfather of my son.
Wow.
Asa. And you know, that man, actually, he didn't need that house. He didn't need to buy. He bought by helping me to pay hospital bills for my son. My son fell sick.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and he was referred to Britain. And you know, the treatment took a long time, 2 years, and then of course, expenses. Hospital. So I had to sell some of the properties to treat my son, which investment I can never regret. But I paid a lot of money.
That's what a parent does.
A
to his
night, even every night was 279 pounds. What? Remember, the treatment is taking 2 years. I don't know how I managed to pay that money.
And the boy recovered his now.
And
up
I got a
down.
contribution from these people in Antwerp, from Mr. Baitet, who was the who was actually the son of the owner of the company. He gave me $100,000.
Wow.
Yes, I've made friends. I'm very good at making friends.
So, you are in Nairobi, but the fortunes in Uganda are changing. When do you return?
Okay, now from Nairobi, Because of those circumstances that I've mentioned of my son falling sick. You know, in Nairobi, they had given him 3 months. No more. Actually, when in Nairobi Hospital, the doctor, when he broke the news to me, we were 3 of us. A nursing sister, a doctor, and myself. No, 4 of us, and my son who was 5.5 years. And they said, this child of yours, can you believe he said he would die in not less than 3 months?
That must
I
have
could not
broken your
believe
heart.
this. And the nurse cried before me.
Oh dear.
The way he communicated that information. A 5.5-year child, you think
Understands.
he understands. Now I started negotiating to keep him in the hospital. He said, no, he has to go to Kenyatta Hospital. That's where we send them.
The ones who are...
Yes, and he said, no,
lost
it will
causes.
not be wrong. You'll be there probably 1 month, 2 months. The longest will be 3 months. So I had to call a meeting of my friends. This being Dr. Ugunda, he was in exile, working in Kenyatta Hospital. I had Dr. Mbonyo also in hospital. I had Dr. Kiyonga was in Katundu also in the hospital.
All those were your friends.
These were actually my comrades because we were also in the struggle together.
Absolutely, you were in this
And
struggle.
probably these people, they went there for a purpose, to facilitate people in the bush. I don't know. Don't commit me on that, but I know.
Here we tell you a life story.
Maybe you can ask people like Charigonza, they could tell you.
I will ask them.
Confirm.
When one of them sits there where you're seated,
Yes.
I will ask them.
So, we had a meeting at Kenya, it's a Kenya Professionals Club. It's a club in Kenya. So that's where we met for a meeting to decide the fate of my son. And I said, you know, this, we involved the specialist in cancer, Professor Kasyate at the University of Nairobi. So he said, yes, there is treatment, but not in this country. One hospital is in America, and the other one, America is slightly cheaper, very expensive, but cheaper than Britain. In Britain, there is one known as the Great Ormond Street for the sick children. It's a hospital sponsored by the royal family, the Queen. They look after that hospital very, very well. I spent 2 years there, so I interacted with some of those, you know, financiers from the royal family. And that is where I was paying £279 a night.
So that meeting agreed, let's take the man.
They agreed. I called the Bunyenyezi, he gave me tickets, and we flew to Britain.
With the mother?
I think, yes. I think we arrived on 23rd of May, 1983. And I booked an apartment. There is a friend of mine called Jiwan, an Indian guy, a Ugandan who is in London. They were expelled from here by Amin. He was again introduced to me by Paul Etiang. So he met me at the airport in the morning at 6 a.m. Took me to apartment. We showered, then went to hospital. And we met there some very good doctors, Professor Chesos, Professor Hardest. They examined the boy and they said, this is curable. It's not what they had organized in
That
Nairobi.
must have hit you like a wave of fresh air.
But of course they came with, you know,
cost.
other, you know,
The cost.
when they take you through what the child will go through, the medicines and so forth, and costs and so forth. So I said, we go. We started treatment. And that now led me again to find something to do in the UK. I started now buying dilapidated properties, renovating them, and selling them. I buy something at £60,000. I put in 20,000. I sell and I make my £40,000.
Human.
And I did very well.
Do you ever get to a situation where you don't see a business opportunity?
So some of those who know me or knew me or visited the UK. So I was not living badly. I was doing very well, and at the same time treating my son. And that's how I managed it.
For 2 years?
For 2 years. You know, when I got involved in Pepsi, I cashed in all my properties, including the ones I had here. Wow. In Nakasera, I had about 6 houses in Nakasera. I sold all of them because of the demand of the investment.
Investment, yes.
Maybe we'll get to that.
Yeah, we certainly are getting there, without a doubt. Your life story is not one that we're going to just tell in one day. In fact, for today, we can now stop right here. We play your next song. Then when we return, which will be next Sunday, we continue with the life story.
Okay.
What will be your last song for today? What will be your last song for today?
The last song for today, this lady Kanyomozi.
Juliana.
I think she is talented. You know, she has some similarity with Whitney Houston.
How did you guess? You must then be a very good and avid music
Her voice.
Yes. And demeanor.
Yes.
If I may.
I normally insist that she plays on our functions.
Wow.
Sometimes my people let me down, but they normally invite her. Yes.
So what song of hers would you love us to play? Or can I choose for you a nice Juliana one?
Which one?
I will not tell it to you. You will just listen to it.
Okay. I'll listen to you.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
So it's Desert Island Desk, and we've had part one of Chairman Amos Nzeyi's story. Like I say, when I have an incredible guest like this one, I don't shortchange you, our viewer or listener. We certainly put a pause to it and then return the subsequent Sunday for us to complete the story. And that's exactly what's going to happen this episode. We'll be right back next Sunday with yet the same guest sharing with us his life story.
Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM. Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.